And if I said, I kind of don't, then we had a conversation about it. My mom never defined right and wrong for me because she knew. She knew. It doesn't matter how old I was. It doesn't matter that I was in elementary school and didn't want to take out the trash. She knew. She knew that I knew it was wrong for me not to take out the trash. So, don't underestimate your kids. They know what's right and wrong. Have them own up to it. Have them own up to what they know is right and wrong. Don't say, that's wrong. Because you want to hear it from them. You want to see what they define. Because if they think it's right for them to say, I'm not taking out your trash, peace out. Then you're just like, oh, we've got issues then. And so then we can approach that. But don't underestimate their ability to know right from wrong. Offer feedback to them, though. Offer feedback. When you're having a poor discussion or, there's a little bit of frustrations rolling around, offer feedback to them. Say, like, I don't want this to happen again. What can we do so that this doesn't happen next time? It's like, how about if we do this? How about, I don't bug you to do the trash, okay, if it's done by 5 o'clock. If the trash is done by 5 o'clock, I'm not going to throw a fit. If it's not done by 3, I'll wait until 5. But if it's not done at 5, okay, we're going to talk. And that's where consequences come in. Because this is the big one. This is the crazy one that I have talked to so many students about. Phones getting taken away, being grounded, not being able to see their friends, cars taken away, phones taken away, computer privileges taken away, and sometimes some students don't know why. And they're coming up to me saying, JP, I don't have access to my phone. Why? I don't know. Like, and being raised by my mother, I'm like, yes you do. I was like, you absolutely know why your phone got taken away. Now you're going to tell me why, because you can't get out of it now. So, with consequences, I could remember when I was with my friends and we were going bowling, and I told my mom, okay, I'll be back by 11. Now, how many of you have heard that? Be back by 11? Are they ever back by 11? No. It's like sometimes they are. This is what happened though. So we were done at bowling at about 10:45. It takes about 15 minutes for me to get home. Well, 10:45, we're a bunch of high school students and all we want is food. We're just like, man, Wendy's sounds amazing. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I need to go home by 11. So of course, we're just like trying to get to Wendy's as quickly as possible. I'm the one driving, so not only do I have to get to Wendy's, I have to get to Wendy's, get my friends home, and get home by 11. And my house is 15 minutes away from the bowling alley. So it's like, don't know how this is going to work. Well, I get home at 11:30. And my mom is on the couch doing this. And I was like, uh-oh. And she said, where were you? And I said, we decided to go have Wendy's. She was like, did you not think to call me? And I was like, no. And she's like, I was very worried. She's like, I wish that you would have just called me to let me know that you were going to Wendy's. She's like, I don't have a problem with you going to Wendy's as long as you call me. But this is where it got me, is because my mom is sitting there angry, frustrated, and worried, and she's expressing it to me appropriately. She's not yelling at me. She's not saying, where the heck were you? Get to your room right now. Because then all of a sudden I'll shut down. That's what happens with kids. When that anger flies, kids shut down. And that's why we need to be able to express our emotions appropriately. And that's what my mom did. It was fantastic. It was her saying, I was very worried, and she said, the least you could have done is call me. Because when we focus on the really extreme negative emotions like disappointment and anger, you're going to shut down the kids. Because honestly, what you were is worried. And you're going to get a better emotional response out of your kids if you share how you were worried. About how, I didn't know if you got in a car accident, I didn't know what to do, I didn't know if I should have done this. But this is what happened. Show you trust them by not setting consequences right away. When I told my mom, I'm going to go bowling, she didn't say, okay, honey, have fun. Oh, and if you don't come home by 11, I'm going to take away your car. It's like, that kind of came out of nowhere. So we don't want to set consequences right away. Because if my mom told me that if you're not home by 11, I'm taking away your car, the first thing that pops in my head, and the first thing that probably pops into the head of your son or daughter, is that you don't trust them. That you're expecting them to fail. And so the way that we test the maturity level of a young person is by allowing them to prove to you that they are going to do what they said, be home by 11. But if they're not, that's when we start talking about consequences. And that's when we have to set appropriate consequences, though. Not like, if you don't show up at 11, I'll kill you. Because it's like, okay, never mind, I'm staying home forever. I'm not leaving. Let me give you some tips that are going to help you. The first time, give them the benefit of the doubt. Using the example of Wendy's. This is the first time that I was not home on time, and my mom gave me the benefit of the doubt. But here's how the conversation went from there. Explain what the consequences will be if it happens again. And say, listen, I was very worried about you, but you know what? The next time that you do not at least call me to ask if you can have an extended curfew, I'm taking away your car privileges. Or I'm backing up your curfew to 10. Or, I'm taking away your phone. Make sure that it is appropriate. Make sure that it is appropriate. So explain what the consequences will be, and the second time that it does happen, you can remind them of the conversation and say, guess what? You just agreed to it. You agreed to what the consequences were, and what needs to happen is you need to explain what they did and follow through. Guys, this is one of the greatest ways that you're going to be able to build a trusting relationship with your son or daughter. To be able to give them the benefit of the doubt the very first time. If your son or daughter has proven to you time and time again that you can't trust them, that, they did this, they did this, they did this, how can I trust them to drive? Or they did this and this and this, how can I trust them to go to after prom? We need to be able to give them the benefit of the doubt and to be able to say, you messed up. Here's what's going to happen next time. And be able to show them our emotions appropriately. So the next one, these are discouraging things. Okay, these are things that you probably don't want to do with your kids. The first thing is you know what the consequences were. This doesn't work if you don't have that conversation with them. I have heard parents say, you know what the consequences were. And the kid was like, we have never had a conversation about this. It's like, all of a sudden you just took my phone. Because this never happened. This conversation about the consequences never happened. We can only use this phrase if we have talked about the consequences. The next thing is that you don't want to write down the encyclopedia of consequences either. You don't want to have a 3-hour sit-down conversation and be like, all right, Jenny, okay, if curfew's at 11, this is going to happen. If you're not home by this time, this is what's going to happen. If you take 3 people in your car, this is what's going to happen. You're going to scare your students, because then they think that nothing that they do is right. They're going to think that anything that they do is going to have a consequence. Now, when we're talking about big things like sex, drugs, and alcohol, we'll get into that. But little things, okay, little things like curfew. The first time that it happens, it's like every single time I do something wrong, there's going to be some awful consequence of me losing my phone or getting grounded for a week or taking my car away. That's what can be dangerous, because then they'll be afraid to do anything. They'll be like, oh my gosh, stand still. Don't breathe. It's like, breathing is a consequence. If I breathe, I die. The last thing that you don't want to do is rush into the consequences. It's not Wheel of Fortune. It's not one of those things where they come home late and you're like, all right, let's spin the wheel. And you're like, you lose your phone. Okay, that really discourages, because all of a sudden, this is what kids tell me. They're like, did they spin a wheel? And I was like, I don't know. You were right there. It's like, you tell me if they spun a wheel. Rushing into the consequences means that if they break a rule of yours, if, like my mom said, hey, be home at 11, and I showed up at 11, she's like, and she's like, you can't go out with your friends for 2 weeks. It's like, we didn't talk about this. I don't agree to these terms. It's like bankrupt. So, make sure that this doesn't happen either. Have that conversation with them. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Talk to them about what will happen next time that your requests are not met. Request is a good one. And the second time that it happens, follow through.